Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Okay, enough comments about what I paid for this shirt. I realize I'm the cheapest person on the planet. It's well documented. All of our guests today, including Farhan Lalji, who's in Kansas City, are brought to you by, and he's going to join us in a matter of moments.
Yep.
Brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. The Giants kick off their preseason Friday night at the Port Coquitlam Community Center. Puck drops 7 p.m. Their regular season home opener is Friday, September 22nd at 7 at the LEC. Get single game and season tickets now at vancouvergiants.com/season tickets. Of course, Port Coquitlam has itself a junior team now, the Port Coquitlam Trailblazers, starting their first season.
The new rink in Poco.
Yeah, Community Center.
Yeah.
Just before we get to Farhan, a little update here. Ryan, have we got a shot of this? We just talked about Elias Pederson in the first segment.
Yep.
Here he is today, and you were criticizing him for not showing up.
Stop it. Stop it.
Here he is today out at UBC.
It's little things like that people pick, little nitpicking. He was going to get here. He has to get here. Camp's around the corner. He's here. Look at this. It was no issue. I was told this week he's here. Look, he's here.
There you go.
Yeah.
All smiles.
All smiles. Happy
UBC.
as can be. He's going to sign a long-term deal, don't you know?
The only happier person on the planet is Farhan Lalji, because the NFL season starts tonight. Detroit at Kansas City, Lions at Chiefs, and he's there in Kansas City. Farhan Lalji joining us now from TSN, looking relaxed. Looks like a hotel lobby there. How are you, sir?
My goodness.
I'm good. I'm in my hotel lobby getting ready for the game tonight. And look, there's no way Rick is going to criticize Elias Pederson. JP Barry would be on the phone immediately
stop it.
him, so you know that's not going to happen. And how's your summer, boys? Hey, you go to the Mann Cup tonight? Game 1 tonight, right?
Friday and Saturday, games 1 and 2. Yeah.
I was at Game 7 of the WLA Championship when they beat Langley. The barn was rocking, like 3,500 people in there packed. The only person missing from the newest contingent was Rick, and he was invited. In fact, he was requested. Still didn't come, but maybe he will next time.
Yeah, he's got a puppy, a new puppy.
I
so
got Leo.
It's an excuse for everything. Yeah.
I got an Australian Shepherd, 24/7. I got no time anymore.
Yeah, I was never a dog person, and then 2 years ago, my wife said, "Enough, we're getting a dog." A yellow lab, Luna, and she is the best person in my life. So I get it, Rick. The world changes quick.
I feel the same way.
Life moves fast, as they say.
What's your experience been like? I don't know if this is your first time or not, but watching a football game at Arrowhead Stadium.
Dude, Kansas City's been good for the last 5 years, right? I've been to every AFC Championship game minus COVID. The last two Thursdays after they won the Super Bowl, and even the draft this past spring. So I've gotten my fix of Kansas City and Kansas City barbecue, which is so good. But there's a lot of buzz around this team. Obviously, pretty big storylines around Travis Kelce and his injury. I'm guessing he's going to play tonight. They're going to take it right up to game time. Okay. But apparently he's pain-free as of today, and there's a lot of optimism around him playing. And then Chris Jones, the defensive lineman, unfortunately not going to play today because he still doesn't have a contract, trying to get a raise, a well-deserved raise. And we'll see where that goes because they're a different team without either of those two players in the lineup.
Hey, Farhan, let's focus on the other side of things here. The Detroit Lions, they took a major step last year. They won 8 of their last 10 games after a tough start. Can you see them taking another step this season around with Jared Goff running the offense?
Yeah, I think I can, but I'm curious to see if Jared Goff can take that next step because last year this was very much a run-dominant offense. He was essentially a game manager. He did throw for 4,400 yards, had the best TD to interception ratio in the league, but the TD numbers weren't necessarily that high. And what was interesting is that they still wound up changing their two primary running backs, and they're going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs, who they took in the draft, and David Montgomery. So it's a different group. There's still some holes defensively. They made some improvements this offseason of their secondary. So we'll see. But look, it's a wide open division, right? In the NFC North, and that Green Bay probably takes a little bit of a step back, and I have to believe Minnesota's going to take a step back. The number of one-score games, they were 11-0 in one-score games, so they're prime candidates for a bit of regression. Chicago's going to take a step forward, but they've got much farther to go than a team like Detroit, so they're the sexy pick to win the division, and I think they absolutely can.
Let's stay with the NFL, but a Canadian connection. Farhan, your thoughts on Nathan Rourke, what happened down there? you know what? He did everything possible. He fought for that backup role, but it was never going to happen. And it questions why and, what's going on there. But your thoughts on Nathan Rourke ending up on the practice roster?
Yeah, it's disappointing that they didn't find a way to get him on the 53-man active roster and being able to dress him as an extra body and be the third quarterback. I was hoping they would have made that decision. When I was there in the first week of camp, you could tell very quickly, just based on the practice reps that he was being given, which just weren't enough, that there was never going to be a legitimate battle for the number 2 job, even though, we're led to believe he was kind of assured that he would get an opportunity to compete for that when he signed the deal, even after the team signed C.J. Beathard. So, look, and I don't want to sit here and disparage C.J. Beathard because, he might be a better fit as a backup because he's got a bit of experience, and it's not always the second best quarterback that you want as your backup quarterback. And he was fine in the preseason as well, but ultimately Nathan made a decision to be with a stable organization with good coaching and good development, as opposed to going to a place where maybe he gets to play a little bit sooner, but it's a bad situation, like say Arizona, right, where you've got completely inexperienced coaches and a roster that's set up to fail. So he had to make that choice, and ultimately he's playing the long game, and hopefully there's an opportunity for him at some point to get on the roster this season and to see a path forward to getting some playing time.
I tell you, Labor Day, CFL, that Saskatchewan game was unbelievable. The way they beat Winnipeg. Stampeders come back. What a finish there. You just love the CFL on Labor Day. Okay, the Lions, second in the West. They're in pretty good stead. They've had ups and downs in the last month. But how is that race in the West shaping up for you down the stretch?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a race, right? And I think BC can thank Saskatchewan, and ultimately Saskatchewan beat both these teams in consecutive weeks. So I'm sure they're feeling pretty good about it and know that they're going to have to likely do that again in the playoffs, right? So that certainly is a confidence boost for them. But it keeps BC in control of its own destiny now. And also, Winnipeg at the end of this month is going to be playing Toronto. And that's going to be a massive game. And if Toronto can pull that off, that puts BC in even better position. But the Lions have some work to do, right? They've got to get better than what we've seen in recent weeks. Their defense, which was so good early on, has kind of taken a few steps. I don't want to say necessarily steps backwards, because I think one of the things we're finding league-wide is offenses have opened up, and we're seeing more scoring everywhere, right? So that's going to come at everybody's expense defensively, including the Lions, as you get a full, a half season of film, 10 weeks of film, and now you can kind of figure out, okay, I can match up with that guy, or this is how we can handle their pressure packages. So the Lions now also have to evolve defensively, as other teams are going to have to do as well. And, eventually, like coming out of this break, I think there's a good chance to get Dominic Rhymes back in the lineup. So that'll bolster things offensively. But as every team needs to do, they've got to evolve a little bit, because as good as you were at the start, it's not how things are going to play out for 18 games. So let's see what the Lions look like moving forward and where they can make some improvements.
Okay, Fran, before I let you go very quickly, why are you not a Deion Sanders fan, as a coach anyway?
Yeah.
You know what, Fred? It's actually not that I'm not a fan of him as a coach, because he can coach, and there's no doubt he can recruit. I just don't like the act. I don't, right? And people are talking about how he's made this miraculous turnaround and everything. And yeah, it was a bad roster. It needed some changes, but he grandstands too much for my liking. Look at what Duke did, right? So Duke makes that big-time upset against Clemson on Monday. Well, 2 years ago, they were 0-8 in conference in the ACC. And they turned it around, and they did it differently, and they did it without a whole lot of grandstanding. And truthfully, I'll tell you what, there's been so many changes in and around college football, and you know me, I love college football, and I especially love college football game days and that experience. But the business of college football, I can't stand realignment. I can't stand the portal. I like NIL. I think it's great the players are getting paid, but I wish the money went more to players in the system versus high school recruits, right? Like I want to see players who accomplish something in college get paid, for sure. But the portal bothers me, and Deion Sanders is I think he is the personification of everything wrong in college football right now. And, the fact that he was able to do that is not necessarily where he changed the roster that way. It's not necessarily an indictment of him. It's an indictment of the system. But I see so much of what's wrong with the system in him and how he's handling it. It's all about him. The attention is all about him as opposed to the players. So I wish you could do it differently, right? But again, let's be clear. I have no doubt in his ability to recruit, and I have no doubt in his ability to motivate players, and to set up a great operation and other coaches and a support system to develop those guys. I just wish it was more about the players and less about Deion.
Yeah, and he was able to, has been able to overcome health issues as well. Farhan, we could go on and on about this subject. Maybe we'll do that another day, maybe next week. Thanks so much for rejoining us. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to the rest of the season, guys.
You bet.